Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're watching this presentation. I appreciate you for viewing. My name is Xavier Miller. Today I'm going to be discussing Crimson Tide leadership and environment. So without further ado, let's get started. So today I'm going to be discussing Captain Ramsey and Lieutenant Commanders, who is also known as the XO Hunters, core leadership styles, the leadership styles I would emulate, and a scene that describes followership in conjunction with a particular leadership style. So first we're going to discuss Captain Ramsey's leadership style. So Captain Ramsey has more of a authoritative type of leadership style. Of course, being the first in command, we would expect him to express and exercise that authority, but that overlaps into his personality because his background, he comes from a combative, he has a lot of experience in combat, so that's all he knows, that's who he is, and that makes him have a task-oriented type of leadership as well. So the mission is his only focus. He's divorced, doesn't have too much communication with his family, and his dog is his best friend. So, anything that doesn't revolve around the mission really doesn't, get his attention. So as far as the interpersonal things and communicating with crew members and, forming a relationship with them, that's not really his focus because it's all about the mission. And examples of that is missile drills. Throughout the beginning of the movie, he's running these missile drills to make sure that they're prepared if the Russians attack the submarine. And, because the main thing is making it back home. And he does want everyone to be safe, but his main thing is coming out on top and, getting that victory in case things do go into the sense of war. Now that we've discussed Captain Ramsey's leadership style, we're going to discuss XO Hunter's leadership styles. So his leadership styles consist of transformational and motivational. That's him in a nutshell, I would say, because he has great interpersonal skills, so he's able to change others' perspectives and just motivate them with just being the person who he is, just being compassionate and understanding, and just being able to be a situational leader as well with that. So he's able to adapt those different situational styles when different situations occur. So he's compassionate. He's always putting himself in the other crew members' shoes, especially when it comes to morale. And when serious situations arise, he feels what they feel. And not just because he's second in command, he disregards that, but he sees that and he feels exactly the same thing. Some examples of him transforming perspectives is, Cobb, the chief of the boat, when Hunter explained the outcomes and protocols of launching the missiles without receiving that second message, that's not the protocol. So that's where conflicts pretty much arose. But he was playing it by the book. He knew the protocols, he knew the regulations, and he knew that wasn't the right thing to do. So in agreement with what he was saying, the chief of the boat agreed with him as well because he was stating facts and he knew what he was talking about. Another example is the crew member who fixed the communication system at the time after the Russians had hit the submarine. He was very overwhelmed because he was the only person that was capable of fixing that communication system. So he was stressed out, and to calm him down, he was able to bring up an example of Star Trek, and that had calmed down the crew member and just kind of relieved him a little bit, and he was able to be motivated and inspired a little bit from his words. And also when he convinced Weld not to launch the missiles, and he was going against the captain that he had been following for years and listening to him, who had just came as a second in command, and he was able to shift his perspective when he had been persuaded by those who wanted to follow Captain Ramsey. Now that I've discussed Captain Ramsey's and XO Hunter's core leadership styles, now I'm going to discuss the leadership styles I would emulate. I'm in favor of XO Hunter's leadership styles because, as I mentioned, he's transformational and motivational. I consider myself a transformational and motivational leader, with just with my perspectives on things and just inspiring individuals to do whatever it is, especially when it consists of the task or beyond that. That's the type of leadership I like to emulate. Great interpersonal skills, as I mentioned. I'm a people's person, so being able to relate to the people and have certain discussions and being able to talk to them in different ways and just about different subjects, I think that's a great skill to have. And just being compassionate, just being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, they have more respect for you because they know that you understand where they're coming from. And I definitely wouldn't emulate really Captain Ramsey's leadership style because that's not who I am as a person. I don't believe in abusing power and just being the first in command at all times. And I'm one to speak because I'm an NCO in the Army Reserve, and I believe that the mission is always first, but soldiers are humans, not robots. So you have to remember that they have feelings, and you have to be a little compassionate and show some empathy towards them. The scene that I'm going to discuss to tie in followership in conjunction with leadership is the mutiny scene, and that's when XO Hunter took over first in command from Captain Ramsey. So in regards to Robert Kelly's followership model, XO Hunter would be an effective follower because he exercises independent critical thinking and he takes initiative often, which makes him active. And Captain Ramsey, as I've mentioned, he has an authoritative leadership style, and that doesn't really tie well into XO Hunter's followership style because he's the type to, like I said, he's independent, he's a critical thinker, he thinks through everything. And in that mutiny scene, they bumped heads because they didn't see eye to eye on what each other believed, and he believed they should have waited on the second message versus from previous command, Captain Ramsey, he wanted to shoot the missile, but XO Hunter didn't believe that was right because he thought they should wait because that would start a nuclear holocaust. So again, I talked about the core leadership styles I would emulate, and a scene that describes followership in conjunction with particular leadership style. My name is Xavier Miller, and that concludes my presentation.